The first one is care/harm. First moral foundation is care/harm. It's possibly, kind of like for big quotation marks, not possibly. A lot of evolutionary psychology is guesswork. It's not the way, but a lot of evolutionary psychology is simply guessing because we weren't there and the universe experiences. So we're simply guessing that for care harm evolved as a moral foundation to a moral effects as a result of the quantitative challenge of caring for vulnerable children. It makes us more sensitive to suffering, to cruelty, and desire to care for others in need. My wife is very, very well. That I mentioned before. She's really high in faith, and her like care promises is like off the charts. I don't know if she's taking the quiz, but if I, it's going to be off. Like she sees a dog on the side, you have to stop. Let's make her. So triggers care can include things like pain or distress, especially for children or flying. The second moral foundation is fairness and or cheating. Cheating is like the trigger. It possibly evolves, again, possibly as a response to the added challenge of reaping the rewards of cooperation. You basically want to cooperate with others without getting exploited. That's how human works. So it makes us sensitive to cheating, makes us sensitive to violations of this intuitive moral sense about fairness, collaboration, and sort of reciprocity, getting what you think you should get. And again, possibly emerge that challenge of the problem. The triggers for this can include all different kinds of things, including dishonesty, cheating, infidelity, should not justify it. Now, to be clear, this care, harm, and fairness cheating, these two moral foundations, again, are the two things that make up weird society flat on the whole. These are the things that, in general, that we have identified as like, that's what's not right, that's what's moral, intuitive. But there's more to it than that. And this also, as you pointed out, reflects on the whole left-wing ground. This is what people on the political left across the world view as immoral. Then we have other things. The third is loyalty and betrayal. Loyalty and betrayal. It possibly emerged out of the adaptive challenge of needing to form coalition in order to be able to make society happen, in order to be able to make survival happen. In groups are very, very important. So violations of foundation can make us sensitive to that maybe a person's a team leader, maybe really hard to be trusted, and it's sort of undergirding the desire to get rid of people who are disloyal. Everything can include betrayals of confidence, treats, and other forms of disrespect. To again, the tribe. The fourth moral foundation is authority's version. This is kind of in contrast with loyalty and betrayal. It's about like members of the group that are all kind of the same in a hierarchy. Authority subversion is about deference to authority, deference to authority and respect for. Again, it possibly emerged out of a response or a need to forge relationships in social hierarchies. We might need hierarchies in order to be able to accomplish what we need to do in our respect. It can be triggered by all different kinds of things. It can make rank or status of others, and people not behaving in ways that reflect and properly respect that rank or status. So triggers include those kinds of behaviors or attitudes or words that can reflect a kind of anti-authoritarian sentiment. There's first, and you can't have for privacy. And the fifth one is sanctity degradation. Sanctity degradation, sometimes called purity sanctity, is possibly one that emerged as a result of the epidemic challenge to basically not die from disease or contaminated. So it makes us sensitive to potential threats to health and also to the degradation of people, places, and objects for being sacred and untouchable. Something that I'm not going to talk about in this talk, I usually try to know about, is that thing that Durkheim talks about in a lot of his work, talk about Durkheim's work, is that societies, one thing that sort of draws societies together, like what's something that all societies have in common, is they identify safety. They identify safety. And you have to have sacred things. And his argument is that the sacred thing is a sort of a reflection or mannerism of like the society itself. All right. Basically, sacred things are everywhere in the Bible. Text sacred thing. Maybe because they reflect the society at all. With sacred, there are like sacred and pure and clean things are the things that are good, and those things that are good are like the Bible. So it's can include things that are, they can include things that are needs, they can include items, insect, parasites, all the holy caterpillars that are called all of them to right now are triggering my sanctity, degradation, moral foundation, like you can't believe. It also is related to culturally taboo ideas. This is the moral foundation that was triggered by the incest example very I later pointed out there might be a sixth moral foundation called liberty oppression. And liberty oppression, the argument kind of distinguishes in some way libertarians from other types of political. So possibly heard is that a quantitative challenge of sharing resources prior to the advent of agriculture. Prior to the advent of agriculture, the argument kind of goes that everything was common land. Once you have agriculture, you have to put fences around things. That's the only way that agriculture can be successful is if people don't touch their land for a long period of time. So fences evolved as a result of agriculture, so people say. And Harvard Road where God does saying that all resources that requires the argument is. Anyway, so those who are sensitive in this sense, liberty and oppression, are those who are sensitive to unjust authority and attempted domination of others. So this can include bullying, tyranny, press freedom, autonomy, etc. I consider the distinction between this moral foundation and the authority subversion moral foundation. Are they kind of two sides of the same coin? I said maybe, but maybe they're different. I'm not totally convinced by that. I think you can just be high in liberty and oppression and low in authority degradation. That's good. And the key arguments that it might be this. So we're gonna use the expert. So we'll give them. So if we're testing the visibility, we can present all different kinds of images. We can ask people questions. We can pose their yes authority, or we can like use triggering images, which is that mobilize sentiments that relate to each new moral value. The seals are interesting. So I don't know if you know those. But in Canada. So in Canada, for parts the seal pumps, which occurs with this, is a long-standing traditional thing that you do in Canada. You hunt the seals and you feed them to death. Okay. Now, in Canada, because environmentalists in Canada have said you can't be doing this. You can't be feeding the seals. Where that Carolina Foundation basically like, no, absolutely not. The problem happened is that seals do one thing really well, and that's eat salmon. Right. So if there are more seals, there's fewer salmon. Salmon is what keeps the economy of certain parts of Canada running. So they're all, so I don't know if you're aware of maybe politics. I'm not really aware of these. Put up a lecture, reading articles. This is exactly what moral foundation is all about. So you have competing arguments about is it like the harm fairness? Is it the loyalty? Is it purity sanctity? Is it all of this other stuff? It's related to like the economy and society and culture. And then you have like the care arguments like this. It's a really interesting debate that's about morality. That's basically going on is what's going on in Canada. So I think it's really interesting. It's about this kind of stuff. All the Colin Kaepernick, so it was about the exact same kind. It was about these loyalty betrayals, because like the flag. So the president that I distributed a little bit ago, you can kind of see which moral foundations each one of these things maps onto. You can probably figure it out pretty easily. So you can see, like, Hannah inherited the American flag, number one, and it uses the flag. That clearly has that the loyalty moral foundation. The one about eating the dog, that's one that's clearly about parenting, right? The same thing with sex all about abuse. Like, you can see sort of how you bring the math on. So there is going to be, importantly, some variation within weird societies. It's not like we all are only thinking harm and fairness. A lot of harm and fairness. There's more to it than harm and fairness. We know empirically, we know from research that there is more to it than harm and fairness. The final thing I want to mention is this third point, which is morality binds and morality blinds. Morality binds and morality. With regard to morality binding people in societies together, there is a tension between selfishness, the priority of the self, and groupishness, the priority of the group. The idea here is that natural selection and survival is multiple levels. It's not the survival of the fittest individual, it's also survival of the fittest group. You will benefit if your group benefits. You yourself benefit if your group benefits. So your whole group needs to survive. And the group that is most flexible to adaptation, that is the group that is most likely to survive. So an element of being able to survive or to be able to adapt for circumstances, that relates to things like cooperation. That relates to the ability of members of different groups to act on behalf of the group, even at the expense of one's own benefit. You can do things kind of conversation. So what you want to do in order for you to survive is work on behalf. That's part of my job. Try to get team play. The team walks by the way, every single class. The team, and I will be honest. But like, we want the university to thrive. If the university thrives, if enrollments go up, if everybody's happy, if students are thriving, then I'm better off, right? The group survives, and I can serve the group, and then I benefit from doing that as well. Durkheim, as I mentioned, is all about. Durkheim is all about this. As we talked about, to be happy is to be moral, and to be moral is to be socially regulated. And it's falls apart, that's DMB. But the idea is all social structures and institutions, their whole purpose and function is to place moral limits on enacting the limits of effects. This is what morality does. This is what morality is. It enables society to happen. If you want to look like a building block, how are we not all living? And how do we prevent the world all against all? The answer for Durkheim is the sense of social cohesion. A shared moral sense that binds us together, that's necessary for society to happen. People, it's not supposed to be individuals hunting and doing stuff on their own. Us coming together requires shared moral sense. Shared moral group necessary for what's sometimes called the collective conscience. Collective conscience is sometimes defined as the set of the most deeply held and widely shared values of community. Set of the deeply held and widely shared values of community. If you have a shared moral sense, everybody agrees the same thing. That's necessary for a community to exist. It's necessary for a community to function and to be a happy. We need morality. We can't have an amoral society. It's a necessary component. It's necessary. We need it in order for human beings to be able to cooperate. That's all the good stuff. It also blinds. Morality also blinds. Though morality is a product of both nature and nurture, people choose moral systems that have consequences for what they do. I think this is really interesting.